Everyone, welcome to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I'm Kathy Group. I'm the Advertising and Marketing Manager, and I get to be your host today. Today, I'm excited to say we're sponsored by Yarn Barn of Kansas, celebrating 50 years. Go check out their website at yarnbarn-ks.com. As always, we'll take questions today, and if you would, please put them in the Q&A. I can see them there. If you put them in the chat, I can't see them, but we love your comments. Please add all those comments and additional information that people have. Those have worked out really well. Today, I'm excited that we're going to have tea with John Mullarkey. John is a nationally recognized teacher that has been tablet weaving for over a decade. His work has been displayed in the Missouri History Museum. His garments using his card-woven bands have been featured in international fiber shows. His designs are featured frequently in Handwoven magazine. He is the primary author of a tablet weaver's pattern book, and he has produced 2 DVDs. One is Tablet Weaving Made Easy, and the other one is Double-Faced Tablet Weaving. He is the developer of the Schacht Zoom Loom, and we are so excited to have him here today. Hi, John.
Hi, Kathy. How are you today?
I am great. Good to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Well, the first question is always the most important. What is your favorite tea?
My favorite tea is Earl Grey with maybe a little lavender.
You know, I've never heard of lavender in tea until I started doing this, and I'm amazed how many people use lavender in tea. I got to try that now.
It's really good. And I want to thank the Yarn Barn of Kansas for sponsoring. I have to admit, this is just a green screen. This is not my studio. And I took this picture at the Yarn Barn at one of their shelves of yarn, and I love them.
Oh, that's great. So if you're shopping online, this is what you would not see, but what your yarn would be coming from. So I'll keep that in mind. They have a great selection. Well, how did you get started in fibers?
Oh, it was kind of an accident. I collect hobbies as a hobby, and I was given 15 pounds of llama wool because this friend of mine was mulching with it. I was like, I'm pretty sure you can make yarn out of that. So I will take that. And I bought a spinning wheel and taught myself how to spin, and realized that llama wool is, because it's a down fiber, is not very fun to process and spin. But where they have spinning supplies, they have weaving supplies. So, you know, I'd go into the yarn barn and for spinning stuff, and I'd see these looms, and I thought, this is my passion. I'm going to make every drape and bedspread and table linen in the house. So I just bought this spinning wheel, and I talked to my husband, Dean, and I said, you know, I'd like to buy a floor loom now. And he's like, absolutely not. You collect hobbies as a hobby. You just bought the spinning wheel. In 6 months, it's going to sit in a corner and just look pretty. I was like, okay, fair enough. But after looking at different online shops and stuff, I found this kit: cards, yarn, a shuttle, a book, and it was weaving, and it was $25. I was like, I'll show him. I'll weave really inexpensively, and then once he sees how committed I am, I'll go back for the floor loom, which I did. And I wove 2 things on it, and it lived in the dining room. And went back to the tablet weaving because I loved it so much. And the floor loom basically became a buffet in the dining room.
So I have to go back. I want to make sure I heard this correctly. You said that they were using the roving for mulch. Is that what you said?
The fleece, yes.
Really?
Yes. And I've heard that before, that's
Really?
not uncommon, yeah.
Well, thank you for saving it. That's good.
Oh,
Well, one question I like to ask people, and part of it, I think it gets some conversation going. And I'm always amazed by how people answer it is, do you see yourself as an artisan or an artist or both or neither?
that is a really tough question. Part of my mission with tablet weaving is and the historical recreators out there will hate me for this, but I have no interest in the history part, and it has such a long and rich history. But my goal with tablet weaving is to really push it into contemporary places. I don't have an art degree, but I have made a couple art pieces using bands. So the one is Space Invaders. It's the entire Space Invaders screen. That's a portion of it that was recreated in bands, and it's huge. It's probably 3 feet by 2 feet, weighs a ton. But and the other piece, location, I got the idea from what I had heard about the distance between the Earth and the Sun being 93 million miles, but it has to be that distance. If it were any different, we would either freeze to death or burn up. And that distance, given our planet and our sun, is just perfect. And so that kind of spoke to me. So I put together this band that demonstrates the two. So I would not say I'm an artist, but I would like to think I have created art.
I think you're an artist.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I would give you that. Well, I'm also aware that you're an artist and you're also a writer. And writing takes a lot of work. And so I'm really curious, what was the catalyst for you writing your book? And it's not just one book. You've written a lot, haven't you?
Well, I have a couple technique pamphlets.
Yeah.
And the pattern book, and there's more hopefully to come, absolutely. But mostly it's a way to share the passion that I really through my teaching and the videos and the books, I really want to share the gospel that, you should never have to buy webbing from a store. You can make beautiful bands and use them for everything. So that was pretty much the impetus for that.
Your website shows that too. Your website's very giving and has information, and you can tell by how much you want to share that information. The one thing in weaving that you do, I noticed, is that it's very much color and pattern. They're both essential. And we have two of your works here using the Egyptian diagonals.
Mm-hmm.
So which is more important to you? Or maybe I should ask, which comes first for you? Do you think about color first and then the design, or the design and then the color, or does it go back and forth?
Pattern is always the first, and it's usually based on, is there a new technique I want to try? Is there something different with an existing technique I want to explore? And then color definitely becomes second after that. And you can make, I'll call them subtle bands, but to me, the bands that are the most striking are these diagonal ones that are just filled with movement and life, and you have to have those strong contrasting colors in order to produce that. But I took a workshop with Cameron Taylor Brown about color, and I was like, she was telling me, I want to get, you should get 12 different colors into a single band. I'm like, how can I do this? I only have 4 holes in my card and I don't want to riot. And it was an excellent workshop, and we got some really beautiful bands with a lot more than just 2 colors. So color's important, but to me, yeah, patterns first. Absolutely.
Okay. When I was reading about you, I was doing some research and stuff, I saw that you were a software developer, and I thought, of course, because for me, card weaving really reminds me of the ones and zeros in computer language. And the other similarity is that it's a very simple turn of the card, not that it's a simple weaving or an easy weaving, but it's that simple turn of the card creates such complex patterns. So my question is, do you think the same thing that drew you to computer is the same thing that drew you to card weaving?
Well, and what's really bizarre is that my degree is in psychology.
Oh, all right, so much for that question.
And while I was in grad school for shocking goldfish, I taught myself how to program. And yes, for 20 years, I was a software developer. And I found it amazing that when I got into the fiber world, Babbage, who is credited with inventing computers, got the idea from a jacquard loom. And I was like, that's amazing. And so, yes, the software development aspect does come into my work sometimes. I created this this vest. The band actually came first, and it was called Controlled Chaos because at first I had created a binary random number through a generator for both the number of turns and the direction of the turn. And I really got chaos. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. So then I dialed it back, and I used the random numbers, binary numbers for the turn direction. 1 will go turn forward, 0 will go back, and kept everything at 4 turns. And I got something that I really, really liked and was really interesting. So of course I had to create fabric to go with that. And that was the genesis of this Controlled Chaos vest.
Okay, that's an amazing vest.
Thank you.
So if you, this next image is that you made cloth on a Zoom Loom, which like we mentioned earlier, you developed that, and then Schacht worked with you on that to get it out there. So pin looms have been around for a long time, but they really seem to have kind of a resurgence lately. And what do you think is why that's happening now? What do you think's going on with that?
I don't really know what to attribute it to. I know that more and more knitters and crocheters and dabblers want to get into, just like I did with tablet weaving, want to get into weaving without the investment in a full floor loom. And I loved these little looms and had, the whole set of every different size before I started tinkering with the design. And this is my like garter stitch of weaving. You can do it anywhere. You don't have to think about it. You just weave. Out come these beautiful squares, and especially with the hand painted yarns you can get today, the squares are just beautiful. The tablet weaving is more, like a lace knitting pattern. I have to follow exactly. I have to concentrate. So I think a lot of people are drawn to that. Weaving. I can weave. I am a weaver, and all I have is this small rectangle with pins in it, and I think that's attractive to a lot of people.
Well, you made this band with your hand spun materials. This next image we've got coming up. So how does spinning impact on your card weaving? What's the relationship there?
Okay, well, how much time do you have?
Okay, folks, sit back, take a while off.
Yeah, let me get some more tea here.
I'll join you.
And I think it's really, really interesting that for me to teach people, it's much easier for me to teach a spinner who's never woven tablet weaving than it is to teach a weaver who's never spun. And it's because tablet weaving is the only weaving structure that has incorporated into the over, under, weft, and warp is twist, and spinners get twist. And if you have a weaver who has never spun, twist is something new and completely foreign to them. But so because I started spinning before I started tablet weaving, a lot of that fell into place really quick. And the tablet weaving, the turning of the cards and the twisting can actually change the nature of the underlying yarn. This is true whether it's commercial or hand spun. If you're turning one direction, it's going to tighten the plies in that yarn, and it's going to give that fabric a much harder look, where cards turning the opposite direction unply the yarns a little, and you get this kind of softer, blurry look. And there's nothing you can do to control about this, but a lot of people in my classes go, why do the two halves of my band look different? And I'm like, well, these are adding ply and these are taking away ply of the underlying yarn. Like, oh. But more importantly to me, as these bands demonstrate, I love using hand painted rovings and spinning with, and these are both silk, spinning silk with them, because you get this depth of color you cannot get from commercially dyed yarns. And that blending of all those colors, even if it's just a semi-solid, I think adds a richness and a depth to the piece that you can't get with commercial yarns. Some of the dangers, the one on the with the silk bobbin in it, that picture, I actually attribute to being a failure, because you've got on your color wheel, you've got yellow over here and purple over here, and one has a really dark value and one has a really light value. Well, except when you spin and you spin something that looks yellow, it becomes darker in this gold, and you spin this purple that has some white in the roving, and all of a sudden it becomes a lavender, and now I've got no contrast. It's still a beautiful band. I like it, but I was like, you can't see this pattern from more than 2 feet away.
So when you do a beginner tablet class, and I'm asking this because I don't spin and I don't do tablet, is it possible to get people to understand the concept of S&Z and the spin and the twist before, or is that something they should go get somewhere else?
Oh,
do
no,
you have
no,
enough time in your class to explain that?
Oh, no. But you may not remember it the next day, but by the time you leave the end of the day of a 6-hour class, you will be able to see the S&Z and the difference.
Okay.
You may not understand yet why it's important, but you can see the difference and follow a draft with those differences. And yeah, that to me, it's like, okay, it's fundamental. There are only 2 things that make all those patterns. One is the color that comes up to the top as you turn the card, and the other is which direction that twist is going. So if you can predict those 2 things, you're a tablet weaver.
Oh, wow.
It's that simple, Kathy.
Amazing. Oh, I understand you're going to be at Convergence. Maybe I should come take your class. Okay.
Well, and
I
always liken tablet weaving to chess, because the moves are easy. You tie on the warp, you turn the cards, out comes cloth. It's that easy. But like chess, I can learn all the moves of the pieces, and that's easy. But seeing, the 3 and 4 steps ahead, seeing what this band will look like, given how you turn the cards, and that's where the artistry comes.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love that. That's great. Well, I want to go back to your job, your old
Okay.
career.
Yeah.
Well, you left this job and you said, I'm not going to do computer anymore. And you said, I'm going to be a full-time artist and a teacher. I'm sure it wasn't that simple, but how did you know it was the right thing to do? And if you had it to do all over again, would you do it differently? If you could go back and talk to that person and say, do this, don't do that, would you do it?
Oh, well, that's an interesting story because I guess my first, when was that? Say 2009 was the first conference I taught at Grinnell University for Midwest Weavers Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so thankful they took a chance on me. But as I started teaching more, I was working full time, and the bosses were getting a little tired of me going, what do you mean you can't get back because your flight got canceled? We need you in the office tomorrow. And so, now I'm teaching once and twice a month. And I said, look, we can make this easy. I'll just go drop down to part-time. And so for, I want to say 2 or 3 years,
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was in the office. Friday through Monday, I was flying and teaching. And they were fine with that. That worked out all right. But they started moving everything overseas, first the help desk, then the programmers, and I was a consultant. And so they didn't renew my contract for that year. And it was the best thing they ever could have done, because there was no way, I admit it was a gilded cage. I was making really good money at that job, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't horrible, but there was no way I was going to jump off that cliff into teaching full time. So I was happy they were behind me and just pushed me right off. And we said, me and my husband said, well, we'll give this a year, and if it doesn't work, then they're always hiring programmers, so you can get another job.
Well, lucky for us. I mean, you've had a big impact on teaching and information and promoting tablet weaving. So good to the computer company. You seem to approach things and seek out new techniques. I was looking on your website and you would be like, oh, I tried this today, or I went to this workshop and they showed me how to do this. So were you always this adventurous, even growing up as a kid, or is it just about the fiber arts?
No, I love, and for the longest time, I never thought I would be a master of anything. I thought I would be good at many things. I'm a jack of all trades and was forever, and loved exploring new things, which is why I was collecting hobbies as a hobby. Did polymer clay, the beading, trying to think what else was in there. Ply split braiding I tried for a while. And so all of these things I would try and get good at them and go, okay, I understand it. Doing it brings minor pleasure, but ooh, look, squirrel, I'll go chase that now. And it wasn't until I hit tablet weaving that I was like, wow, I don't think I can leave this, and still haven't. Today I was gonna maybe show a loom and realize this is one of those one day, 1 out of 5 days a year when I don't have any looms warped. Because there are usually 2 or 3 of them with some project on it. And today I was like, oh, wait, there's no loom warped. And I have 30 minutes. So yeah, and that's part of, even within the tablet weaving, I'm constantly trying new techniques, or like the picture on the far left, I tried, that was an experience in woven shibori, because I had taken a workshop in woven shibori on a floor loom. And so I thought, why not try it with tablet weaving? And it turned out it really didn't work. But you don't know that unless you try it.
Right,
You know?
right.
So what I learned was if you're going to do, dye your bands, black and white bands, and you want resists, don't weave them in, just wrap them. It's much faster.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I'm sure there are so many people listening right now are going, yes, I do that too. I try all these things and I do squirrel. And so, I think we found kindred spirits here and there.
Yep.
But you also think outside the box. That's what I loved, is that you can find ways of using your artwork, everything from shoestrings to which I love this image of your niece, that you made that band. That's her name for her christening, right?
Yes.
That is so cute. And I mean, those are pretty extreme apart. So how do you seek out things to use your weaving for, or do you just come upon it? How does that work for you?
Mostly it stems from wanting to explore something new, to try and push limits. I mean, I have a whole talk on what to do with bands, a guild presentation, and those are so wonderful to do because then people also return and say, well, have you thought about this? And have you thought about this? And I was like, no, I haven't. But Daryl Lancaster gave me one of the best piece of advice in a workshop that was, when something comes off a loom, it's too precious. You don't want to cut it. You don't want to do anything with it. So just weave and weave and weave, and do whatever tickles your fancy that day, but weave, and then put it aside. And 6 months later, go back to your, bands and bands and bands. And when you do need a band, just like, oh, well, that one will work. Or like I'm wearing a belt that I wove. The collar on my shirt is 62 silk that I wove. So yeah, just there are a few cases where I have something in mind that I want to do, and this is, for example, I really wanted something in the yardage and fashion show at Convergence, but I knew Inga Dam already did the bands in the fabric, and they are beautiful, and there was no way I was going to try and do anything like that. So I thought, well, what if you opened up a band, used the reed of a floor loom to open it up so you could actually see the weft. And that was the inspiration for the yardage and eventually the duster.
So this piece is bands sewn together?
No. It's one 24-inch band, if you will, that is slayed in a 12-dent reed, one card every other reed, or
Really?
every other dent.
Wow.
And even the black parts it's just black yarn, but it's all one continuous piece of fabric across.
Wow.
And I as well as can I do this? Well, let's try it and see if it's one of my favorite pieces. I just think it's crazy. I would never do it again. It about killed my body, but it was 160 cards. It would take me 2 to 4 hours to do about 10 inches. But when it came off the loom, I was really excited.
Well, I see it has a ribbon. This one's something at the Complex Weavers, correct?
Yes, the Complex Weavers Award. Yep.
Oh, okay. It's Complex Weavers Award. And it should. It's beautiful.
Thank
How long
you.
ago did you make this? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was, see, the duster was for 2020, so that was 2018.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is that right? Convergence in Reno.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Right. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Well, speaking of Convergence, you will be there in 2022, next summer in Knoxville. So besides that, what else is next for you? New book? You said something about a book?
Oh, and I know, and it's on my website, and people bug me, and
And you're getting it here too.
I. So it's a technique called 4x4 tablet weaving, and all of the samples are done because that was the fun part. It's just getting in front of the computer and putting it all together. So yes, there's that coming. I really want to get into some videography. I know Daryl Lancaster's going gangbusters with YouTube, and I think that's a really good idea. And but being a videographer all by yourself and a video editor, and it's daunting. But that will probably happen as well. And then for some odd reason, I became an event coordinator for, these things just happen. I did not plan this. But Red Alder Fiber Arts Retreat in Tacoma, Washington, which always happens every year after during President's Day weekend. And I used to teach at the predecessor to that event. I loved it. It's multidisciplinary. It's about 60% knitting, and then a huge group of spinning, and I'm building a huger group of weavers and things. Rebecca Mezoff will be teaching tapestry weaving there.
Say the name again, what it is, what's the name of the conference?
Red Alder Fiber Arts Retreat.
Okay, and when is it?
February, President's Day weekend.
Okay. And they can get more information on your website?
At redalderfiberarts.com.
Okay, Red Alder. Well, I've already had a couple of comments, and people want you to hold that up again and just hold it. That what you made, is it 4x4? Is that what you called it? Yeah, just hold it there for a second. Oh my gosh, look at that.
So these will all be patterns in the new book.
That's
that one's fun.
You saw it here first, folks. Another one. We corner the new announcements on Textiles Tea. Well, I'm looking forward to that book. That'll be amazing.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I know nothing about publishing. Would it possibly be done by Convergence, or is that way too soon?
Oh, no, that it could definitely be done by then
Okay, good.
If I put my nose to the grindstone. And
I'll be calling you.
Do please.
Up on you.
Yes.
John, where's that done? Where's the next one? Well, we got tons of questions. Shall we go ask some questions? All right. You got a lot of shout outs too. You got a big fan club here. Oh, hello, John. This is from Susan Kuntz. Hi, Susan. She wants to know, please share with us your favorite tablet weaving loom. I've seen you use several different ones at various times.
That actually is a very easy question.
Okay.
The Schacht loom. When I'm at home, I mean, I teach on smaller ones, and that's because I can bring a bunch of them. And I'll weave my shoelaces on something small. But the Schacht loom is big and nice and sturdy. I have two of them. They've lasted me forever. Yep.
Okay. Helen Flannery. Hello from Helen, a TWIST member. What are your favorite resources for patterns that you don't create yourself? And do you use any computer software to help you design? Oh, good question, Helen. Good question.
So being a software developer, I actually developed my own design software.
Of course.
But that was in 2003, and it doesn't work on anything past Windows XP, so don't ask me about it. The most technical thing I use to design with now is Excel, because all I need are slashes. and I can use the forward slash and backward slash to create patterns. I can use the shading of the boxes to create drafts and check colors. So there are some decent ones out there. I think Turnstyler is still out there, and I think Guntram's tablet weaving thingy, GTT, is still out there. They're both free, but I don't really excel as what I design in. As far as pattern books, when I'm stuck, I'll tell you honestly, I go to Peter Collingwood's Techniques of Tablet Weaving. I open it up and go, have I tried that? Nope, let's try that. And so I don't have any. Oh, I will shout out to absolutely Claudia Volney's Tablets at Work, which covers lots of different techniques. She's got lots of patterns already there, and it's easy to. She even has instructions on how you take the next step to creating your own. So unfortunately, go ahead.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Who is it?
Tablets at Work.
Tablets at Work.
Claudia Volney. Unfortunately, she's in Germany, and shipping has been a problem lately. But
is it in English?
Yeah, English and German. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was saying, and I don't know, Whitney, if we have this image again, can you show his works on the floor loom? We get a picture of you on the working on the loom at the beginning.
At the beginning.
Whitney, you're a rock star. Way to go.
So that was me weaving the yardage on the floor loom, which is a funny story because my good friend Amy Norris said, John, why do you still have a floor loom? You whine every time you're on it. And if you need yardage, I'll weave it for you. And I was like, oh, all right, I'll get rid of it. So I don't have a floor loom. So this is Amy's studio. So I had to go to Amy's house every day for like 3 months to weave on her floor loom. And 160 cards across. But yeah, it was something.
All right. Patricia Tracy. Oh, that was for Patricia. There's your picture, Patricia. Monica Cadalto. I'm terrible at names. Sorry, Monica. Hi, John. I took your class at News 2019 and joined Twist.
Thank you.
Love tablet weaving. Are you thinking about writing a pattern book on 6-hole weaving? There's cards with 6 holes?
Oh, yeah, and 8 holes, yes.
Really? My ignorance is showing here, sorry.
Well, and just like each hole represents a shaft on your loom. So as you increase the number of holes, you increase the complexity of your patterns and things. I might look at that now. I will say that Ottfried Staudegal, who wrote 2 very good tablet weaving books, was working on that, and he died like 2 years ago. So I was like, I'm not going to do it because Ottfried's already working on this. But he was in his 90s and wasn't able to complete it. So I may look at that, yeah.
Grace Tully wants to know that fiber. What fiber do you like the best?
Silk. That's easy.
Silk?
Yeah.
Okay. What size silk do you use?
All.
All, okay.
60s. This was 60s too.
Right.
Probably my favorite to use is 22, which is the same size as like a 10-2 cotton. Yeah.
Jennifer Verall, I'm learning here. I didn't know that the Tegel process added or subtracted twist. Has anyone used one project, both yarns that are plied with S and yarns that are plied with Z?
I know what she's asking, and yes, I've tried it. And what was her name?
Jennifer Verall.
Jennifer. So here's the deal, Jennifer. So I created an S yarn plied Z and a Z yarn plied S, and they were creating diagonal lines that moved in the same direction. And yes, it got rid of that distortion or that difference between the two halves where the twist was added or subtracted. However, as soon as you reverse the turning direction, you reverse the action. So the only way you could spin for it would be for bands that only turned in one direction. Otherwise, the minute you reverse the turning direction, you have the same problem, but instead of this half band and half band, you have this segment that gets tight and this segment gets loose. So you can't win.
All right. Jennifer, the good news is he answered your question. The bad news is you can't win. There's a couple of how-to questions that I think would probably be better if they contacted you directly. I don't want to get into a mini workshop here. But some people were asking about where do you get your cards, and do you have a preference for any particular type of card or?
Well, I get mine produced at a printing company because I have my logo on them, and I have one at my desk.
Can they buy them from you?
Yes, you can buy cards, looms, books on my website, malarkeycrafts.com. 4-hole and 6-hole now.
Okay.
But my favorite are not my cards because they're just business card stock and they will wear out. But Lassis has laminated cards that are a wonderful size that work really well forever. So.
And Lassis, is that what it is? Lassis?
LACIS, Lassis, the lace and weaving people, and I think they're in San Francisco.
Okay. I'm sure people will ask where to find that.
Yeah. And they're expensive. I mean, my cards, you get 20 for $5. Theirs are like $15, but they'll last forever. So
right. Okay.
Berkeley. Thank you, Robin.
Oh, Dorothy Miller wants to know, you mentioned 2 free tablet software programs. Can you spell them out? You said them very fast.
Styler, Styler.
Okay, Styler.
And the other one, if you it's always known as GTT. So if you do tablet weaving software, GTT, the GT and T stand for Guntram's tablet weaving thingy.
Thingy?
Yes.
Highly technical term there, folks. Thingy. Yes. All right. Barbara Shapiro wants you to talk about Twist. You have a producer behind the scenes here. All right, Barbara.
Well, when I spin on my wheel, it produces twist. I don't think that's what she means, though.
I don't think so either.
All right, Barbara. Twist is an acronym for Tablet Weavers International Studies and Techniques. And it's a journal that comes out 3 times a year. And if you go to tabletweavers.org, they have all the information. And it's a wonderful organization. All of the content is subscriber generated. It's only, I think it's still only $10 a year for 3 issues. And they have history, they have techniques, travel. Yeah.
Well, here's, I'm not sure what this means. What is that beautiful creation in the center of the 3? She must be referring to a photo. I'm not sure what she means. We'll come back to that. What is the Fazia Rizzi wants to know, how fine a yarn have you woven a band with? She said, I'm curious if possible to do a band that feels like ribbon.
Oh yes, this 60s to silk, and part of it is because it's silk and not cotton, but feels like a ribbon. It's that fine. Okay. I have woven with reeled silk that is like frog's hair width. 20 cards gave me about a 1/4 inch. It was really, really, really fine. The problem with reeled silk, the turning is very violent to the threads because all the threads are have friction against the cards and other threads. And that real silks, those little silk fibers start breaking. And I haven't ever been able to weave more than 6 or 8 inches at that fine level because of the fragility of the yarn.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ellen LaBruce wants to know, have you ever woven a tablet weaving band at the end of a loom woven fabric across the bottom or at the top end?
Yes. I don't have it anymore, but I made a pouch that was on my Schacht Cricket rigid heddle loom, and it was a weft-faced piece. And when I cut it off, I sewed up the sides, and then across the top where all the cotton warp was sticking out, I wove a band using that cotton warp as the weft for my band. And but that's a very historical use, especially on rugs that were weighted, vertically weighted. They would weave a band at the top and then use the warp at the bottom as weft to weave the other selvage.
Well, Leslie Martin came back, and when I said that about the center of the 3, she was talking about the split ply split, I always say that wrong, necklace.
Yes.
Right. Oh, look at Whitney. She's on top of things.
And that was a workshop with Louise French. She came to St. Louis for a 3-day workshop.
Oh, Louise, yeah, okay.
And that's what I made. She actually asked me to start teaching because she was wanting to retire. And I did for a while because the 2 disciplines are identical when it comes right down to it. You have a 4-ply yarn you make that then you split the plies. And so there's twists and there's weaving in some types of braids. And tablet weaving is the same way. And I've actually transferred tablet weaving drafts to ply splitting, making the yarns by the draft. And yeah, they're kind of interchangeable except how they're put together or the method in which you put them together.
So there you go, Leslie. What was llama the first thing you ever spun? Was that llama the first thing?
Yes.
It's amazing you stayed with it if it's that hard.
I know, and I had Alden Amos book and Ann Field's book, and they both went into the scouring and the prep and the carding. I bought hand carders and the guard hairs though, and I even had a party. It was a Memorial Day party, and I was trying to Huck Finn them all, saying, "Look how fun this is, pulling out these guard hairs. Don't you want to try?" And I only had a couple takers.
I like that. Oh.
You too could be pulling out guard hairs. The one piece I made, I spun up this. It was a beautiful caramel color. And I took my Zoom Loom and I had spinned and wove enough to make an Afghan. And it's gorgeous, except that you can't put it anywhere near you. Even through jeans, you feel the guard hairs prickling through to your legs. And so it's, as my friend Amy says, it's a beautiful hair shirt.
Okay, maybe we can offer a class in that, hair shirt making by John Mullarkey.
By John Mullarkey.
All right. Mimi Anderson wants to know, she says, hi, John. She met you at Midwest 2019. She says she's a Dobby weaver. She goes, I'm signed up to learn inkle bands at Convergence. Would I like learning card weaving instead? And why should I? The gauntlet has been thrown down.
See, and I will be happy to trash talk inkle weavers in my class. I'm not certain I want to do it on this forum.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say though, especially if you are a multi-shaft weaver, Inkle weaving is a 2-shaft weave. And tablet weaving is a multi-shaft weave, 4, 6, 8. So you make the decision.
There you go, Mimi. All right, this is from Nita Oosterhag. In some traditional Norwegian fabrics, they would weave a band and leave long wefts at one side. They would then put that on a warped weighted loom, and the long wefts would become the warp of the weft face piece. Could you do that with table? She says table weaving. I'm assuming she means tablet. I think it's similar to what Inga Dam does, incorporating tablet weaving with cloth on a loom.
Well,
you're shaking your head. You know what she's talking about?
Yes, it's what I alluded to earlier, that the rugs on vertical weighted looms would have a band at the top that they would weave, and she's exactly correct. You would use a really long doubled over weft that would dangle down so that the weft of your band at the top became the warp of your rug.
Okay.
And yeah, I can see doing that on a floor loom. I could see creating a selvage with starting with your band selvage with really long band wefts that you tied onto your cloth beam that became the warp, and then you could tie onto the back beam the band and wind on. I could see that working.
Is it better for a new tablet weaver to start on a tablet loom, or could they start on a floor loom? Or is there a preference?
I shake my head because the first probably 10 years of my tablet weaving career, I was looking for or going to invent the perfect tablet weaving loom. And it took me 10 years to figure out there is no such thing, because depending on the technique, depending on the length of the band you need, depending on the width of the band you need, different looms will suit you better. So an inkle style loom, whether it's designed just for tablet weaving or inkle weaving too, they're great to start with, and your limitations are your band can only be as long as the number of rods you have. The floor loom is nice, or even a rigid heddle loom, because you can put on as long a warp as you want. So, and you can make it as wide as you want. So that's the advantage to doing it on a floor loom.
Okay. This question makes no sense to me. I'm sure you'll understand it completely. Have you made bands where you move the cards so they jump across others? How do you rate this technique? And that's from Karen Parkin. And she says, huh?
Well, it's one of the things that when floor loom weavers kind of poo-poo tablet weaving, I'm like, yeah, but you can't do this. And
there.
Yeah, and it's literally, I can rearrange my cards and get a completely new band anytime I'm weaving. And
really?
Yes, and it's fascinating. And so yes, I have played with that, and it's easier to do on a warp weighted setup where each card is tied to a weight, because then it doesn't matter how far you move it, and you're not going to get tension and discrepancies.
Look, wait a second. I have to look. I always said I would never do this anything unless pigs fly. And I think there's some out there now. I gotta try this. I always thought, no, why do people do this weaving? But this sounds amazing. I'm a convert. I'm gonna have to try it. Thank you, John.
Good. I have evangelized successfully.
All healed. There we go. Well, I hate to say this, but we got to stop for today. John, you have been wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I've learned tons. I mean, that's all about me. So, but thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge and your enthusiasm. and just sharing everything with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great fun. Cheers.
Now, if you want to learn more about John's work, you can get his, like he said, he's got looms. He's got, somebody asked, where do I buy cards? There you go. He's got 6-fold cards and 4, and at malarkeycrafts.com. And heads up, because it's not spelled like his name, I got caught in that one. So malarkeycrafts.com. Go check it out. Great images, wonderful images of things he's done. Also want to say a big thank you to Yarn Barn of Kansas. Also, thank you, Yarn Barn, for that beautiful background behind John. That was perfect. 50 years, celebrating 50 years and counting. Go to their website to see what all they are doing, celebrating their 50 years, and how you can join in and be part of that celebration. And that is yarnbarn-ks.com. Thank you, Yarn Barn. If you would like to sponsor Textiles and Tea, or your guild or your business, please go to our website and you can get all the information you need there at weavespindye.org. Textiles and Tea is generously supported by the donations to the Fiber Trust. If you would like to see more programming like this, and we've got a lot of programming coming up this fall, Spinning and Weaving Week, please donate or join at weavespindye.org. If you missed part of today's program and you would like to see it again, or if you want to share it with a friend, or go back and see what you've missed, or other programs, other Textiles and Tea, you can do that on the HGA Facebook page, or you can see it on YouTube. And you don't have to have a Facebook account. Everybody complains about that. You don't have to have a Facebook account to watch on Facebook. You can just go in and watch whatever episode you want to see. And we are putting them up on YouTube. Next week, I'm so excited. We're going to have Elizabeth Morissette here. Thank you all for joining us today. It was wonderful having you here. Hope you have a great week. Happy tea.